Hello, this is Lisa Rusczyk
and Donna Murphy.
with the podcast We Are All Psychic. And if you are watching on YouTube or Spotify, we have the common mystic sisters with us, Jennifer and Jill, or Jenn and Jill. Say hi.
Hi.
And Donna is meeting them for the first time, listeners and watchers.
Yes.
So, of course, we're both going to ask you, Jennifer and Jill, do you think we're all psychic? Again and again.
I think we are, but Jen, can I hear you? Talk to me.
Can
Jen.
you hear me?
Now I can. Okay.
All right. Testing.
Absolutely. I strongly believe we are all born with the ability to use our psychic senses, but because of culture and our society, it's kind of almost like dampened down, right? And
it's
a lot of us
better,
have
but it
to.
is in some places. It's really down. Like in the South, where I used to live, it certainly was.
Right.
In Nashville, not so much. So,
but just like society in general, it's not as accepted as maybe in other cultures and other parts of the world. But we definitely all have the ability. What do you think, Jill?
I do. I also feel like it's more accepted if you don't use the word psychic. You can use the word like intuition, like I just get a feeling. Then people are like, yeah, I get it. But then as soon as you say psychic, then it's like, oh, that now you're crazy.
Taboo, or they think scammers or something like that.
Yeah, the block goes up, I think,
or
for
witch,
a lot of people.
Right?
Yeah, which is even
witchcraft.
weirder because that's like scary to some people, because of I don't know why.
Sure.
But it gives women power, I think, and that's why. Psychic is everybody, but witch is pretty much woman. Not always, not always, but
I don't know. But for a lot of people, it absolutely has a negative connotation. Can I bring up something that's absolutely entirely off topic, but that I think
yes, please,
absolutely also really awesomely, synchronistic. Jennifer, you have a picture behind you, and I have that picture behind.
Oh my God, it's the same picture.
Oh, wow.
This kind of stuff.
For me, it's over here.
Yeah.
And for you, it's to your, on
my
camera,
right.
It's on the right. Yeah.
Isn't that Bob
my.
Pine's
I
dad?
didn't even.
Yeah. Wow. That's so weird.
Whoa.
Isn't that funny?
It's
actually it's a very famous, it's a
Prince.
well-known master painter, whatever. It's Thomas Constable.
Who is it? Okay.
Constable, and it's called the Haywain. And just again, really quick, although I know we're off topic, the reason mine doesn't look the same as hers is not only a size difference. My father, who was very gifted artistically, but never had any lessons, taught himself to paint in oils by copying, which actually still might be done in art schools.
Oh.
And he literally took a drawing from, like a book plate from a book of, an art book, scaled it, and then taught himself. I have several, but taught himself to paint with oil by mimicking the old masters.
Wow.
And so it's actually a copy, but it is an actual hand painted oil painting.
Huh.
So what's the story of that painting? I mean, what's it about? Because if you both have it, there's no coincidences. So what's the story behind the painting itself? Like, do you know it? Does anybody know it?
Well, first I want to say that painting behind Jennifer was painted in almost the exact same way by my godfather's father. So on the painting, it says Pine because that was his name. So so apparently they did that.
Wow.
I think they might still teach in art schools, at least for learning technique, copying, an existing famous painting. I mean, because again, how else would you learn that artist's technique or even the various techniques that are used when you're oil painting? Because there is technique to it, along with obviously the talent to, make something that looks like what actually.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is that your painting is connected to your father and our painting is connected to our father, which is interesting because I feel like our father is kind of, hey, girls, like coming through.
Yeah, really. That is so funny. But I saw it and I just thought, oh my gosh. And another reason the colors are not as true on mine is because, again, at least back in the day, it wasn't uncommon to lacquer the surface of an oil painting. The oils don't really change over time unless they've been really subjected to a lot of either light or moisture or whatever. But the lacquer, the shellac, actually discolors over time.
Isn't that
that's why mine
interesting?
is not as true in terms of color. I would like to find somebody who could maybe restore it and get the lacquer off without damaging the painting. I believe restorers can do that.
Wow.
But, it's one of those nice to haves that I just haven't had a chance to pursue. But yeah, I just looked and I went, oh my gosh.
Well, I did look it up on ChatGPT and it says here the legacy of this painting. It says painted ordinary countryside it is rather than heroic landscapes. And that's why it's so popular in his work. Captured changing light, clouds, and weather, helped shift landscape painting toward realism and observation. And what all four of us do as psychic podcasters is try to make the extraordinary ordinary, which is what he's doing with the landscape. So I brought it together for us.
Yeah, you did.
You did. And act as observers, right? I mean, we're observers. We're witnesses. I mean, we participate.
All four of us.
When we work with clients, but we also are meant to bear witness, I think.
I think that's true. Yeah. And listeners, if you don't know who these ladies are, you're crazy. But I'm just kidding. These are the Common Mystics. They do a podcast called The Common Mystics, if I didn't say that already. But I just wanted to put that out there. And I wanted to let you know, they've been on the show a few times. And if you are not a long-time listener or watcher, and go check out their podcast if you have not. I just want to pin that out there real quick because they're really good. They travel and they tell tell the listeners what y'all do exactly because it's hard to describe. You guys got it pitch down, I'm sure.
So Jill and I, we get in the car and we have an intention for spirit. We ask the spirits to lead us to a verifiable story previously unknown to us that allows us to give voice to the voiceless. And so Jill is the driver and I'm the note taker, and we pick up information from spirit and they actually lead us to locations that are spiritually charged. And then we get out and we investigate and we write down all of our psychic hits. And then when we get back home, we do the research, which is also intuitive. And spirit leads us to someone from the past, a spirit from the past that wants a voice. Sometimes they are misunderstood. Sometimes their story has never been told and they want their story told. Sometimes they don't like the way their story has been told and they want a different version out there, but they do communicate with us and we tell their stories. And in our podcast, we also explain how we get our hits and what that's like for us. So that's really kind of what we do.
And I also love it when you guys are telling your stories and how you separate ways sometimes on where you're traveling, like some spooky place, like a hotel or something you're in, and you'll separate ways and then come back and tell each other stories about, and they're similar, they have something in common, usually a common thread of what you picked up and stuff, your feelings or anything that happened even around you. So
sure.
I think that's my favorite part is when you guys get back together and you're telling each other what you experienced. I would never split up if I were you guys. I'm not Scooby doing it, Donna, did you want to ask any questions?
Go ahead.
I was just asking Donna if she had any questions about that.
I think it's absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure that with the way energy works, with the way spirit works, the fact that you're allowing yourself to be guided to, again, whomever needs it, and their ability to also then draw you and say, oh, here's someone who can tell my story. Mm-hmm. I just think that that's really beautiful. I think energetically it makes absolute sense.
It does.
And I just think it's fascinating. I've not known, other than what you sometimes see on TV, but again, those are often, even though they'll say, we didn't do research ahead of time, but somebody told us about this. And I'm not saying I'm not jaded and I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but all I know is by the time it's made it to the screen, a lot has happened. Right. I mean, in order to tell a story that somebody's going to want to, say, watch on TV as a TV program, a lot has happened. And there's certainly going to be, there's going to be editing. One thing that I think is always has always kind of made me a little hesitant about what's done in terms of, I'll say, reality TV kind of thing is there's I'm not like an avid watcher, but I've watched enough to kind of see the pattern, and no one's ever wrong.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing about that strikes me is it really possible that every single time, every single hit is right on the money? And I guess my answer to that is I don't know, but I think it's doubtful. I think the fact that you guys do it so organically, I confess I haven't had a chance to watch your podcasts yet, but I absolutely will. But again, the idea that it feels very organic and it feels much more, when I say authentic, again, I'm not throwing shade or saying anybody else is not telling the truth, but when it's done in such a way that there's not a lot of middle.
It's very a storytelling kind of feel, like with the podcast is very storytelling, but it's you can tell, like, you give so many details. I feel like I'm doing it with you. It's kind of cool, or like you're telling me about it in a story format. I'm sitting around like a campfire with you sometimes or something like that. It feels that way to me. So it's like really cool. And y'all make fun of each other a lot. And I like,
I think the audience can really relate that way, in a way that doesn't feel quite so, sound bitey.
Yeah.
And everything wrapped up with a nice little bow at the end,
So like, since we've last talked, what is the most incredible thing that has happened to you guys on your journeys?
Well, before we get into that, I want to say, to Donna's point, I have a couple things to say. When Jenn and I are in the car and we are picking up hits, we don't look at hits as wrong or right. We just, because there's so many different levels of the energy. So we may get hits that don't make it into the episode, but because we have long pages of notes and notes and notes, but we circle the ones that are relevant to the story we find when we're doing the intuitive research. But to your point with reality TV, and I think this is something that Jennifer and I are trying to correct, is that they're always doing it in a sensational way that draws fear. And Jenn and I are trying to dissolve the fear around using your psychic abilities and picking up on spirits. So that's really what we like to do, and make it ordinary for people.
It's accessible. It is normal.
It is. And I think the idea that it's not sensationalized and not meant to scare people.
Like most TV is, yeah.
Yeah. It just puts it puts it in a whole different space. And to your point, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing, because I'm not, but the idea that even if you're not looking at it right from wrong, it's like when you do research. I mean, even if you're just researching something mundane and you're asking ChatGPT and you're doing research on Google or some other thing, you're going to find things that are actually more relevant to your search. And then some things that, while they may be completely valid, they're not that search. They're not that story. They're not that thing. And that, I think, again, that's a lot more organic and natural.
That's life. That's how life is,
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of stuff going on at once, but there's a main thread, hopefully, in the podcast here somewhere. There are usually.
I think one of the coolest things that happened since the last time we spoke regarding the podcast is just some of our episodes. We had a situation in Ridgeway, South Carolina, where we were picking up on a triple homicide, and the granddaughter of one of the victims, her best friend reached out to us. So we were able to unite the granddaughter with the grandmother who had passed away from this triple homicide before she was born, in spirit. And I think that was the most... It was. I was so blubbery and
I would have blubbered.
Beautiful experience, and so organically that her best friend was just Googling and found our podcast, and she listened to it, and it was really. I think that was really special.
Yeah.
You mean randomly her best friend just found that podcast?
Yep.
No, that wasn't random. That was something magical.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. It's like whatever they were looking for podcasts on, yours is like screaming at her and like pops up.
Yeah, like this one.
And she's like listening to political stuff, and there's a psychic podcast, with her friend on it. It's weird. That'd be great. I think that's pretty fabulous. What do you guys think about coincidences, honestly?
I don't believe in them. I think they're serendipitous. I think that they're instances to draw your attention to something so that you can evaluate what it mean.
I like that.
Yeah. And how does it affect me, and why is it a gift? Why should I be paying attention to it?
The other thing that we've come to understand through the process of the podcast and this work is that we think about our thoughts, our behaviors as creating changes in our future, but it really doesn't work that way. It's really like dropping a pedal in a still pool, and the ripple goes in all directions. So what we're doing is also impacting our ancestors and what came before, in a sense. So we really do feel like we are carrying on our grandmother and our mom and our aunts, their mystical journeys that started with them and before them, but also some of the generational trauma and stuff.
Yeah.
It keeps coming up for us, and we feel like we're healing it in real time, even though it already happened. It's a strange kind of mind-bendy situation, but it really does feel that way.
That I think that's beautifully stated, and it really resonates. And the thing is, I think so that we don't, like our heads don't explode, we have to think kind of past, present, future, just because otherwise we're not
right.
But truly, those are like 3D,
constructs.
And once you take that, once you're able to suspend that at least long enough to conceive of a different way of that energy moving without it being linear like that, and only going in one direction, then of course it makes not only perfect sense, but I think on some deep level, on some soul level, intuitive level, whatever, that really resonates. It's just that most people, myself included, can't stay there for too very long because, like I said, otherwise your head just explodes.
Well, it's interesting that you're talking about that, because I've been reading a lot of stuff, and you're probably all familiar with this stuff, the cellular memory, like the DNA memory of traumas from your ancestors. They get actual genetic mutations from the traumas and pass it down into the their next generations, physically and biologically too. So I mean, it's that happens. They have proof in the changes in genomes from people who were in like wars and had PTSD and stuff like that, and then they had children, and they look at children's genes, and there were certain mutations that person. Like some of the stuff I've read says this anyway. And I find that really fascinating, because in our field, we do talk about this a lot, especially working in the field. All your BS from your family and all the karma and all that crap, all of a sudden you're dealing with it. You, and you, all of us, like, I don't want to do this. But it does happen. It's just energy, and it's in the body. You can feel it, can't you? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
How would you describe that to the listeners and watchers? Like, what does that feel like to you? Because to me, it feels like, well, right now it feels like stress. But most of the time once I've healed it, or I feel like I've gotten through something about the karmic issues in the family, or in the, in the karma with friendships, or for me in general, I feel better. Oh, really big better, not just a little better,
I feel like I notice when their generational trauma has healed is when I'm like, oh my God, we just did something healing, and we feel it. But when you're in it, you can't really identify, like, at least I can't, like the feeling of what it feels like. It's not until like Jennifer and I took a road trip with our siblings, and we were uniting parts of our family that have never met before and sharing stories. And after it just felt like we were healing something, not just for our family and us siblings, but for our father and for our father's father. Yeah. And those are the moments that you don't realize that you're carrying so much until it's healed.
Right. Right.
Kind of like getting a back massage. You can be tense and be like, I know I'm tense, but then you get a back massage and you're like, I didn't know how tense I was.
I can't stand up. Right. I have no support now.
And
once you turn to Jello.
And it's that same sort of feeling that we got during that conversation with the what is it?
Granddaughter
of the murder victim in Ridgeway, South Carolina. It was that same sort of feeling of bringing together the past with the future. And she had never met her grandmother. And yet there was this healing that occurred because of the story. And the thing that we see again and again is that this archetype continues through a family tree in a way that you can't explain other than generational trauma, sometimes it's generational blessings, right? But you see the same, like even in our own family tree, the same archetype of man keeps showing up generations later through people that never met each other, right?
Yes.
On different sides of the family tree. It just keeps showing up. And then we have the mystics also in our family tree on both sides. They keep showing up. So these certain archetypes continue in ways that you can't really explain because they didn't know each other, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's
like
very
a genetic memory and an energetic memory. And and kind of where Donna was going a little while ago, trying to bring the past, present, and future at the same time, which is what y'all are doing, kind of doing. Yeah. You're healing that stuff. You're putting it all in the same box, a kind of time.
Yeah, we are.
I feel like you're letting it all coexist.
Yes.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
And the fact that you can sustain it for any length of time is that in and of itself is amazing. But that's where the work happens, is what it sounds like to me. And that just, again, that makes energetic and intuitive and kind of gut instinct sense too. But it's like a flex, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The way the kids say, you have to
practice.
You have to turn the corner a little bit and practice letting that be, at least in that space. For the time.
For 100%. And we weren't this people when we started this journey 6 years ago. We were not these people.
Oh, I hear that.
Spirit has taken us and shown us experiences that change the way we see and view the world and see our own place in it.
For sure. The guests do that for me.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Yes. That is really cool. So,
the other thing, I'm sorry.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
The other thing I wanted to mention about TV reality shows about ghosts, and this has always been for me a pet peeve, is that when you have a haunting or spirit or just energy and the hosts are interacting, they oftentimes will try to bait or upset, and they're not respectful in any way a lot of times. And then the other thing is so I have an issue with that. You should always go into a space being respectful, because these are entities, these are spirits, right?
It's like people. Yeah, I mean, people like that.
Not a source of entertainment. The other issue is that a lot of times when they do, say, oh, this is what the psychic was picking up on, and then you'll have like a real brief, article, and they'll flash it, and then it's over. Well, Jill and I always wanted to be like, well, why is that person coming through now? Like, that person has a story and you're not telling it. You are stopping just short of the healing of why this voice is coming through right now in this way. So what we do is kind of a reaction and a response to the way this space has historically navigated the ghosts and the hauntings and the spirits. So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Ooh, that's cool.
Again, when making TV, the idea that the story, I get from what I just heard you say, you guys focus on the story. You don't make yourselves the story. When someone is a TV personality and what they want is people to come back and watch them every week, or watch their ghost hunting group or whatever every week, and the story has to actually be about them.
There has to be a theme that makes it interesting enough, like the crocodile hunter guy. I wouldn't have watched that show if if that guy wasn't the crocodile dude. Someone else, I probably would. I watched it every week and reruns and syndication. I loved that show so much.
Yeah,
it was one of my favorites. He's like wrestling alligators. You never saw that stuff, And listeners and watchers, if you don't know what that is, it was a show in the 90s. What was that guy's name? Steve something.
Irwin.
Steve Irwin, the crocodile
He ended up
hunter.
getting killed by one of the crocodiles, I think, right?
No, stingray.
Stingray. Yeah, it's but he had gotten bitten and stuff like that, but he was going to go for it. Once he got better, he's back on the horse.
Right. You're right. They're in it for making good TV, and it is about the personalities. And I think early on, Jill and I realized that it couldn't be about us.
Oh,
because the minute it was never about us, the minute it becomes about us, then we start competing, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're sisters and we have that natural competition.
Think of that,
yeah. So it couldn't be. It couldn't be about who gets the most hits or who's the most psychic. It had to be the voice coming through, and that has worked for us.
And that's really healing if you have any issues in your relationship too. It would be healing for you. I remember the first interview, you two were kind of like picking at each other here and there. Like one of you wanted to tell something that was, I think Jill, you wanted to tell something that you had planned, and you were like, no, let's not tell anything. We don't have it all fleshed out yet. And then you're both like, but it comes out and it grows through your podcast. Like you get closer and funnier, and but like the picking at each other was amusing in the beginning of the podcast. It's funnier now because y'all are closer, I think that's true. It's so cute too, and it's like so back and forth, like it just works really well. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
And it's really been cool to watch the growth, of your relationship, because it's not about you, but I have seen that in your podcast, and when you come back to talk about it,
Aw,
it's cool.
Thank you.
I think your listeners and watchers pay attention to that. They like that too.
They do like the banter.
Yeah.
That's why we do Detours, which is an extra episode that's behind our paywall.
On the Patreon,
Yeah, so that we don't have to cut out the banter. We can just totally be silly, and it's unedited, and it's a video of us talking about what we learned or what experiences, or doing fun little quizzes based on what the previous story of the week was the previous week. So it's a lot of fun. I think
that's cool.
I think we complement each other very well. And I compliment, I think, Jennifer's weakness, and she definitely complements and strengthens my weaknesses. So
and you probably bring out each other, heighten each other's strengths as well, too.
Yeah.
So,
I hope so.
So the listeners must have figured out that you are the Common Mystic podcast, but what's your website and stuff like that? Where can they find you if they have not figured that out?
So we are on all the socials at Common Mystics Pod. You can find us wherever you're listening to your podcasts at Common Mystics Podcast. Our website is commonmystics.net.
Commonmystics.net. And on Instagram, that's where I follow you mostly. I think you guys follow me mostly on Facebook, but I'm always like doing my like psychic work stuff on Instagram. And so guys, I think if you want to like be interacting with them, do the Facebook. Yeah. That's what you do.
I'm really bad. It's me on the socials. I'm really bad.
I need to be out there more.
I need to get out there more. I just feel stupid because we're a team, and if it's just me doing the media, it's just like my face all the time. Who wants that? Like, I would rather have Jennifer and I be on the socials.
I hear you. With AI, you can make that happen.
Yes, that's true.
I can tell you how.
Okay. We'll connect later.
Okay.
But you can.
What's that?
We can also get emails at commonmystics@gmail.com, so that if you want a mentorship with Jennifer, or we're having a spring class that Jennifer is creating because she is a master educator, and of course, hook us up. People that want readings, we love giving readings. It's phenomenal. It's a chance to meet our listeners, and they're just such great people.
That's
We're
awesome.
really lucky.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, we do have a class. I'm hosting a class. It's four Monday nights in a row, and the first one starts the first session is April 27th, and it's because we are all psychic, right? The people who join, it's a lot of activities. It's activity and discussion based, so it's not a lot of sit and get. I feel like there's so much information out there. We are overloaded with information. It's more, this is a safe space to actually practice. Like, let's really tune into these clairs. Let's do the exercises. Let's talk about it. I can't teach you how to be psychic for you, but I can provide you with activities for you to discover how it works for you, because we're all different, right? So that's the point. Yeah, and if anyone's interested in that, they can email me at commonmystics@gmail.com.
And do it. That sounds right.
You guys, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And if you can't tell, listeners, and if you're watching, you can't tell, Jennifer's very calm. Like she's not woo. She's woo. No, she's not woo woo. Right. She will ground you. She'll keep you grounded while you're. I think you would anyway. Keep you grounded while you're learning these skills.
I would say I'm a single woo.
I'm probably like.
No, and I think that's great. And you bring up such an excellent point, because as far as information, and even for the, I will say, kind of the information junkie who's like a researcher, reader, reader, like avid reader who wants information, there is plenty. And there's a lot to choose from. The experiential learning is the piece that once you want to apply, or you feel like you want to start down the road of applying it to your own life and knowing what it feels like, what the experience is like, exploring that in yourself. And the experiential piece is the piece that you're really going to, all the information's great. It's kind of like practice and study, right? Study's great, but alone, you're not a practitioner. You're just a wealth of knowledge. If you only practice, you may be really good, but you might be missing a piece that helps you bring things together and help them.
It can be a word. Sometimes it's just a word.
Yeah.
Like this, like giving a word to something can give someone so much power over understanding to have a word. Oh, that word exists, and they can put it in a sentence and then use it, and then it brings, like works.
Then it locks in. I mean, because it's got some context. It isn't just like this kind of free floating.
It's got context. Exactly. Yes.
Right. So at this point, yes.
Thank you. I would like to thank our sponsor, Everclear, right now. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths, so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And Donna and I are both advisors on Everclear, and I am under the name Lisa Rusczyk.
I am under the name Dona Murphy.
And that's a great place. So if you can't stand us, there are other advisors, and they're wonderful. And if you don't get stand Everclear, go to one of these two, because these two are awesome. And Jennifer and Jill. And lastly, do you have any advice for the listeners about, like, let's say so since you're going to be teaching, I kind of want to go with you, Jen. Let's say the listeners are listening to this and they're thinking about taking your class. And if I were one and I was listening, I would want to. So because of how you come across, you're very grounded, you're very practical, but you're also imaginative. Both of you are. And I've always felt like, Jill, you have the same things going on, but you don't have the confidence that Jen has with it, is kind of what I felt in some ways with other people. Not with yourself, but with other people and giving them readings. I don't know, but you're both very talented. So I'm surprised you're not teaching with her. That's why I'm saying that.
Jennifer is the teacher in the family. She has dual master's degrees, and her master's degrees is in understanding how people learn. So it's not just about
human.
So Jennifer literally is she knows how she can assess how you are working with the material and understand where it is that you're getting it and where it is you're not. So it's not just, practicing in a workshop. It's actually being assisted
you can pin down.
She's a real educator.
Yeah. Perfect. We need people like you.
Absolutely.
So that's why I don't do it. That's why I purely do the readings, because it's like she's trained.
Okay, that is amazing. Because you have all that info and knowledge, and you have the intuition to work with it. Also to pick up without having to do testing. What kind of learner are you? You can probably do that too if you want to. But you can probably look at someone and be like, they're a visual learner, or ask them.
It is assessment based. In fact,
exactly, it is assessment based. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So students, the clients will start with taking an assessment, and that gives me information, and it's a jumping off point. And then I formulate the classes based on the assessment information that they give me.
Okay.
So it's very intentional.
Do you use your intuition at all when you're reading the assessments and stuff? And
absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
That's great, man. That's just fascinating.
Originally,
I'm so excited.
When we put together assessments for our tier 4 on our Patreon, tier 4, where we meet every month.
Yeah, mystical mentorship.
Those assessments were like windows into people's souls. They were so powerful. And I have to say that just reading them, you learn so much about the person and how how confident they are. You know what I mean? Because usually if you're not experiencing what you think is psychic ability, it's because you're holding yourself back.
I think
you're
so
not
too.
Believing it. Yeah.
Maybe fear or not believing or just fear mainly. I think it is at the root of not believing, because why not believe in it? It's perfectly wonderful. Like one person on the podcast I'd never thought of it this way. When he said when he realized at like 9, his mom told him he was seeing spirits and no one else could. And he thought, wow, what a great thing. What did he say? I think it was this guy from Australia named Greg Sheehy. He said, what an advantage I have. And I never saw this as an advantage. Ever. And when he said that, I was like, it is kind of. I guess for a man, it would be. Men are always looking for the edge, you know?
Well, I feel like if I didn't have psychic ability, I would be like a non-functioning adult. Like,
Me
honestly,
too.
Literally,
I wouldn't be alive.
It's my lifeline to be productive in this world. Without it, I don't know what I would be doing.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel that way too.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I really want to know, I'm keeping this a little short because I'm in a lot of pain today. Well, I've got hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I've been taking LDN, which works pretty well. But in Nashville, we have a lot of pressure shifts, which makes my tissues expand and contract all day long. And it's like 30% of my body. It sucks. It sucks.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to cut a little short today, but I do want to ask you a very important question. Do you love the listeners and the watchers? Do you love them? You
love them so much.
We are so blessed. We have the best listeners. We really do.
No, you love our listeners.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course you do. I love our listeners and watchers too. And Donna, do you?
I absolutely do love our listeners and our watchers and our wonderful guests. I just feel so blessed. Ever since starting to work with Lisa as a co-host, I have had the opportunity to just meet the most interesting and fascinating and brilliant, gifted people. It's a real honor, and it is a real blessing. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So nice to meet you, Donna.
It's great to have you guys back. And
thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
I love having you guys back.
Yes.
And listeners and watchers, we love you, and check them out if you have not. And you have not, you have a madness within that you must listen to them and cure.
Love you anyway.
Peace out. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye for now.
Bye.